10:05, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. In studio with me right now, it's time to take a look at what's going on with the Lubbock and West Texas economy. James Arnold, president of American Bank of Commerce. Welcome back.
Thank you, Chad. Good morning. How are you?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy Friday.
Yes, it's always good to have you in on a Friday, and we're at the end of another quarter and halfway through the year. It's amazing to say that halfway through the year.
It gets faster every year, Chad.
It does. How, just overall, before we start getting into, I guess, different sectors of the economy, how has the economy progressed through the years, from the beginning of the year to where we are right now?
It got off to a really good start. The economy continues to build on itself, and we continue to break records around here on construction, home values, home sales. I mean, any metric we look at, it's better than it was the month before. It was better if you compare it to a year before. Lubbock's economy is just we're in unprecedented territory right now with our economy.
Does that surprise you that, just month after month that the last 2 years we've had you on, it's just month after month after month, it good news out there.
It is. And we're the overall economy is due for some type of correction. We're seeing that in the markets a little bit. We track a lot of numbers and a lot of data for the economy, but the yield curve, which tracks, based on rates and what years you go out. So the longer you go out in terms of term, 30-year, 15-year, those rates aren't much different than short-term rates. And so when that yield curve is usually inverted, the longer you go out, the more you get paid on an interest rate. It's pretty flat. And so that's a precursor to a recession. So we're looking at that kind of stuff. We watch it. It's never been wrong. When that yield curve inverts and short-term rates are higher than long-term rates, you're into recession territory, and we're seeing that yield curve flatten a little bit. So, but for Lubbock right now, retail sales are up about 1.5 and that's good. We saw some of that earlier in the year, kind of flat,
right?
And you and I talked about, is that the Amazon effect? Is that online? What is it? But retail sales are up. The big one though is home sales. Our values are up year to date about 13% over this time last year. The value of your home, which is, if you're selling, it's great. It's a seller's market out there right now in residential real estate.
Yeah. No, and it has been for the last few years, hasn't it?
It has. And what we're seeing is home permits are down about 10%. We had about 500 home permits through the first half of the year last year. We're at about 440, 450 right now. Just a little off. Why? I don't know. It's not a big number, but we need inventory. And, homes below $300,000 are selling like crazy. Our average price is about $199,000 for a home in Lubbock today.
Yeah.
The higher values are taking longer to sell, but they're getting about 98% of their asking price. So all those metrics point to a very healthy and very robust local economy.
Do you think we're seeing some of those, under $300,000? Are we seeing a lot more of those homes being built?
We're seeing a lot of them. Beat Bow's kind of the gold standard on those homes, and they do a great job building an entry level first-time homebuyer house. They're building a lot of them out at Bell Farms, which is way south on 1585. But they're selling, and they're getting absorbed, and they're selling them for 97 to 98% of the asking price. When you start seeing them go below 90, now you got a problem. They're having to cut price to move volume. We're not seeing that. We're seeing homes retain their value and continue to be sold.
And we keep seeing this growth in Lubbock and more people moving in to Lubbock. The growth has just been amazing, and it doesn't look like there's any slowing down on it at all.
We keep looking around and go, where are these people coming from? And a lot of them are from these rural towns. I mean, that's always going to happen with Lubbock because of the healthcare hub that we've got with Covenant UMC. So that's always going to be a draw for seniors that need to get close to healthcare and those kind of things. But now we're seeing small businesses come to town. We're seeing the growth of Texas Tech is the big one. That's the 800-pound gorilla that we need to continue to feed bananas to because they drive our economy, that and healthcare and agriculture. So those are our three drivers. Two of those three are doing really well with healthcare and with agriculture. Healthcare and Texas Tech are doing really well. Ag, we need a good rain.
And that's what I was going to ask you about with the ag, because I know y'all do a lot of ag business over at ABC Bank. And I'm sure you're talking to some of your folks over there, and they're getting a little bit worried. Those ag producers have to be getting a lot worried probably right now.
They're a lot worried. We got off to a slow start, and then all of a sudden May hits, no rain, 100-degree temps. I mean, it was just hard for that seed to get any moisture. And now we had a decent rain a couple of weeks ago. We need a wet July and a hot August is what we need. And we're in a mild drought right now, pretty severe the further west you go. Mm-hmm. But we need rain.
What is this for the ag community overall? If we don't hit that, if we don't get that rain in July, if we don't get that, those ideal temperatures in August, what does that mean for the ag community out here?
Well, those that hopefully they have insurance, crop insurance, and that'll help bridge that gap. But it'll mean lower grades. Last year we had a lot of volume of cotton harvested, but the grades were not very good because we had a cool, wet September that didn't allow that seed that boll to germinate and to mature. And so we need a hot, dry September, but we need a moist summer for that plant to grow. And so it all has to line up perfectly. And boy, when it does, we have a great crop and a great harvest, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Didn't happen last year because a couple things didn't happen. So it's way early right now. But July and August are going to be really pivotal on is this crop going to make or not.
When do you see folks who are in the ag business and they go to ABC Bank and they're doing business with y'all? When do you start seeing them pull back or get out of ag completely?
Well, it's usually they make that decision in January and February when they sold the crop from last year.
Yeah.
They bring the check in, they pay the loan down. Okay, now let's talk about next year, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of guys are like, you know what, we're out, we're doing something else. I'm leasing my farm to my neighbor. I'm just getting out. I'm selling my equipment. We saw some of that this year. We saw producers get out. Yeah. Because they just couldn't make it. And so we're seeing some of that consolidation right now. And age has something, I'm going to retire or whatever, but others are just getting out of that business.
Yeah, which you hate to see.
You hate to see it. The Senate passed a farm bill yesterday. Now it's going to conference committee. We're optimistic that we'll get a farm bill signed by the president by the end of the summer. That's what we're hoping for, sometime in August, late August. So if that happens, then that improves our condition a lot. But those guys make that decision at the first of the year, kind of go, no go. Right now, they're in it.
Yeah.
If you plan, you're in. You've got money spent to get that seed in the ground, water, get it up, fertilize. So you're in it right now, and their goal is just to get it out in a profitable way.
Yeah, you're in it and you're praying.
That's right.
Praying for rain. Let's go ahead and take our break. When we come back, we've got more to get into with James Arnold with American Bank of Commerce. You can visit their website at theabcbank.com. We'll be right back. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. In studio right now, James Arnold with American Bank of Commerce. And, James, we were talking about the housing here in Lubbock. And it's one of those where this is the time of year where a lot of people are going out and buying homes.
Yeah, this is home buying season. The summer's always the time people are, okay, let's relocate. We got kids in school. They're out of school right now. And so it's a good time to get into a house and to buy a house. We do mortgages at ABC Bank. Jessica Carson, if anybody has a need for a mortgage or wants to refinance and lock in a rate right now before rates start going up, we're watching that creep up a little bit. Her number is 775-5000. That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Jessica Carson, and we can take care of you. And the advantages of going with a bank, a community bank, is we're responsive. We hustle, we return phone calls, we answer our own phone. We don't have a massive switchboard and all that kind of stuff. So give us a call, and it's a great time to buy a house in Lubbock. Home values are increasing, so it's a good time to go ahead and lock in that value now in all over Lubbock.
Yeah, we have seen news the past few months, this entire year, interest rates going up. Still a good time though to get in. I mean, especially if you look at history and historical averages.
Yeah, if you go back a decade or more, we've had a pretty flat yield curve and flat rate environment, right? Mm-hmm. Rates haven't moved a lot over the last 3 or 4. They have, but you go back 15, 20 years, we still are an unprecedented low historical mortgage rates, and so. But we're seeing some uptick in that, and it's a supply and demand thing. The economy all across Texas is really doing well.
Yeah.
And so Lubbock's a part of that is what it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Unemployment numbers, how do those look for Lubbock?
Right now, year to date, we're at about 3%. Fully employed. So if anything below 4.5 tells you we're fully employed as a community, and if you want a job, there's a job available. For the first time in a generation, Chad, we've had more jobs available in Texas than there are workers to fill them. So that just shows you the robust economy that we're a part of in Texas today, and Lubbock shares in that. Last year to date, we're at 2.8%. So we've stayed low for probably 10 to 15 years. We're one of the lowest unemployed areas in the state of Texas.
Yeah. We've talked about hotels before. I know on the show those seem to keep popping up everywhere you look at. How's that industry looking?
That pipeline's emptying out. We're not seeing a lot of reload of projects on the drawing board. Those that were on the drawing board are under construction right now. We can look out the window and see some. There's not a lot in the pipeline, which is probably good. I think we're at full capacity right now in terms of absorption. I don't think we have a lot of empty rooms on the weekends, but I think we're getting to that point where our supply is meeting our demand right now. The city's talking about doing something downtown, which I think once that Buddy Holly Center opens, we see it coming out of the ground. That's exciting. Once that opens, I think you'll see some other national flag hotels pop up downtown.
And, there's been talk lately, and it seems like every couple of years about the hotel occupancy tax and, whether or not to raise that. And, you've got the hotel associations, which sometimes weigh in on it, sometimes like it, sometimes don't like it. Is it a big deal to raise the hotel occupancy tax when you're looking at trying to bring in conventions and everything else?
Well, it depends on how much you raise it. If you can just kind of slowly uptick it a little bit, that's probably okay. Once you stop, it's always hard to start increasing that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But doing a whole point increase or 1.5, but if you can just uptick it a little bit, I think you're fine. It's just when they try to get too aggressive and raise that too rapidly and too aggressively. Yeah. That's when people go, hey, we're going to go to Amarillo, we're going to go to Midland, we're going to go to Abilene. That's who we compete against.
Right.
We don't compete against the Dallas-Fort Worth or the Austin or Houston. We're the mid-market player, and we've got to always watch what we charge folks because we've got to be competitive.
Well, and there was it was one of those wallet hubs or one of those surveys that came out. I guess it was earlier in the year, and it showed I think Lubbock and Amarillo pretty much tied with how expensive it is as far as a hotel goes. I think, Tide went on 14th place out of the, cities in Texas. So that's who you're looking at, basically. That's who you're competing against.
Yeah, and, the third or fourth most expensive hotel room right now is in Midland, Texas. Yeah. And we all know why.
Yeah.
It's not because you want to go to Midland. It's because the oil business, obviously. And so the most expensive hotel market in the state of Texas today is Austin, followed by Dallas, and then Houston's third, tied with Midland for third.
Yeah.
So Lubbock, we've got to stay competitive in that, and Amarillo is a big competitor on conventions, and we just got to outwork them.
Do you, when it comes to hotels and conventions and everything there, do you ever see a concern that there's not enough space for conventions that may want to come to Lubbock?
Sure. The Overton solved a lot of that for us.
Right.
The Overton really filled a gap that we needed. I think with the Buddy Holly going downtown and the Overton's proximity to that and some other convention hotels that the city's talking about, I think it'll really establish us as a great alternative for a convention that we may not be able to host today. I'd love to see Texas Tech be able to host a men's regional basketball tournament, and that all comes down to space and facilities and hotel rooms. And so that'd be great. And as Lubbock continues to grow, we'll see some of that come online.
Yeah, very interesting. Let's see, another sector, I don't think we've touched on this today, auto sales. How are those looking?
They're doing pretty good. They're up about 10% year to date. That ebbs and flows. We'll see that slow down over the summer. And then with school starting back, that's one of those back-to-school purchases you see. People, hey, we've traveled for the summer. Let's trade in the minivan. Let's get something different. We'll see some uptick in the fall. New models come out in the fall. But that's a good sign of a solid economy as we're up 10%. And a lot of that has to do with the overflow from the Permian Basin again. Guys are up here buying pickups. They're buying work trucks. They can't get delivery in Midland because demand's so high, so they come up here and take delivery on on an Alderson vehicle or a McGavick Nissan, stuff like that. So it's good to have proximity to the oil business in that case.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that pipeline, because I think, what was it, a few years back when Midland was seeing that boom, you had people, sort of, it kind of made its way up this direction where even people were buying homes up here just to travel down to Midland. Are we getting to that point again where we're seeing the Midland effect rub off on Lubbock?
Yeah, I think we saw it going into the first quarter. We started seeing that, and for sure in the second quarter we've seen it. Whether it's auto sales, home purchases, workforce demand, we're seeing now guys not taking jobs with the city of Lubbock or the city of Levelland. They're driving the Permian Basin to do their work down there because they can get paid more. So we're seeing the effect on our labor force. We're seeing it in retail sales. We're seeing it in automobile sales. So, yeah, it permeates all sectors of our economy, and it's just a nice little sweetener to kind of enhance what we're doing here in Lubbock.
Yeah. How's the regional? We've been talking about the Lubbock economy. Regional, how are we doing?
Great. In fact, the Wall Street Journal had an article this week about Hobbs, New Mexico, about the impact of the oil business and the boom that's going on there with new restaurants. A new McAllister's Deli just opened there. So we feel it in the entire region, from Lubbock south, the impact of what's going on in the Permian Basin right now. It's really, really hot, and we're reaping the benefits across the region. Is
that the uptick? Because you brought up that, what was it, a 2% increase in retail? Mm-hmm. Is that the reason why? Is it because of, a possibility of the Permian Basin and people coming up here? Is that why we've seen that uptick? Because I
think that contributes to it. I think it's partially that. It's partially Lubbock's economy's on fire. It's growing rapidly for Lubbock. We're seeing an influx of people moving here. So there's a lot of little things, not one big one. Like in Midland, the one big one's oil. Yeah. In Lubbock, it's a lot of little things that kind of stack up and create these numbers in this scenario we're seeing today.
I think it's one of the pluses of Lubbock,
absolutely,
right? Is that we are diversified. We do have all these different segments of the economy rolling where, no offense, Midland, but if the oil industry's not there, if oil's not booming, their economy slumps big time.
They have big swings up and big swings down. Lubbock's always been the tortoise in the hare race. We're slow and steady wins the race, and these are great numbers for Lubbock. Yeah. And there's a lot of things that we talked about earlier that contribute to that. But again, the boat anchor for Lubbock, not the boat anchor, the 800-pound gorilla is Texas Tech. So goes Tech, so goes Lubbock. And so we need to always remember that and support Texas Tech and embrace the growth of Texas Tech, and all the things that they do really has a big impact on our local economy.
Yeah. Any predictions moving forward for the next quarter and maybe the rest of the year?
Well, I'm not in the economic predicting business, but all things look good. We're watching interest rates as they tick up. Prime's at 5% right now. We'll watch that, and we keep a close handle on this economy. But again, retail sales and housing make up 70% of a local economy, and those are doing pretty good.
Very nice. James, thank you very much. Appreciate
it.
Chad. James Arnold, you can visit their website, theabcbank.com. Encourage you to do so. Next time, we're going to talk about lending as well here on the program.